in a world shaped by belief. The line between reality and illusion isn't always clear. From medieval dancing plagues to modern conspiracies about global elites and miracle cures, history is rife with episodes where large groups of people believed something palpably false. These phenomena, called mass delusions, offer insight into the architecture of human thought itself. While the term often evokes images of hysteria or irrational mobs, the forces behind mass delusions are complex and deeply human. They don't arise merely from ignorance or misinformation. Rather, they emerge at the intersection of psychology, culture, and the brain's neurobiology. In uncertain times especially, people cling to beliefs that offer clarity, identity, and control. Even if these beliefs veer far from objective truth. Section 1. Psychological pathways to delusion at the individual level. Humans are wired with cognitive biases that prime us for mass belief, even when it's flawed cognitive biases. The brain's shortcut. Confirmation bias encourages us to seek and trust information that supports what we already believe, while dismissing contradictory facts. Bandwagon effect propels individuals to adopt beliefs simply because many others do, reinforcing group cohesion, pattern recognition. The tendency to see connections where none exist helps explain beliefs in conspiracies and supernatural phenomena. Need for cognitive closure intensifies in moments of chaos, leading people to embrace rigid but reassuring belief systems. These biases aren't inherently negative. In fact, they're evolutionary tools meant to streamline decision-making, but when combined with strong emotions and community reinforcement, they become the scaffolding for delusion. Emotional triggers, fear, anxiety, and a loss of control are potent drivers of mass delusion. When people feel helpless, they search for explanations that soothe or justify their emotions. Even if irrational, delusional beliefs become coping mechanisms, offering certainty in place of ambiguity. Section 2. Culture as the catalyst. Psychological tendencies are shaped and amplified by cultural context. The stories a society tells itself, the fears it harbors, and the values it elevates all determine what kinds of beliefs it might be susceptible to. Media, myth, and memes. In any era, mass delusions often reflect cultural anxieties. In the Middle Ages, fears of demonic possession and witchcraft emerged from religious doctrine and social instability. Today, conspiracy theories spread through social media function similarly, echoing real fears about surveillance, inequality, and rapid technological change. Media plays a crucial role in this process. From television dramas to viral TikToks, stories are shaped in ways that emphasize drama and emotional resonance, repetition, especially in tight social echo chambers, transforms fringe ideas into mainstream narratives. Collective identity and ideology. Group identity fuels belief. People are more likely to accept ideas that reinforce their worldview or align with their political or religious affiliations. When cultural narratives intertwine with personal purpose, delusional beliefs gain traction not because they're plausible, but because they're meaningful. This can be seen in phenomena like the satanic panic of the 1980s, where fears of cults and ritual abuse were inflamed by media, therapy practices, and cultural shifts in parenting, crime, and religion. The panic wasn't random. It arose from broader societal tensions about morality, safety, and authority. Section 3. The brain's role in false belief. Even at the biological level, the brain is a fertile ground for delusion. Neuroscience reveals how fear, memory, and neurotransmitters combine to shape belief systems. Brain regions involved the amygdala, which processes fear and emotion, becomes hyperactive in anxious or traumatic environments, distorting threat perception. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for rational thought, decision-making, and skepticism, can be sidelined during intense emotional activation. The hippocampus influences memory and can reconstruct events in inaccurate ways, especially when surrounded by communal reinforcement, dopamine, and reward. Belief isn't just logical, it's rewarding. Dopamine, a neurotransmitter linked to pleasure and motivation, spikes when we perceive patterns or uncover hidden truths, even false ones. Delusional episodes in schizophrenia and bipolar disorder are associated with dopamine dysregulation, suggesting that the brain's reward system plays a powerful role in reinforcing irrational ideas. Memory distortion. Humans are susceptible to false memories, especially in highly social settings. A story repeated often enough with emotional content and community support becomes fixed in memory as if it were real. This helps explain how mass delusions can persist for months or even years despite contradictory evidence. Section 4. Case studies. Collective illusions through history. Mass delusions aren't confined to dusty textbooks. Here are a few chilling and fascinating examples. The dancing plague of 1518 in Strasbourg, France. Dozens of people reportedly danced uncontrollably for days, some until death. Historical accounts suggest stress, famine, and belief in supernatural punishment contributed to the bizarre outbreak. Some theories suggest a psychosomatic illness or ergot poisoning, but no definitive cause is known. Salem Witch Trials, 1692, in Puritan, Massachusetts. A mixture of religious extremism, social tensions, and fear of outsiders sparked a deadly witch hunt. Over 24 people were tried and executed based on spectral evidence and mass hysteria, illustrating the power of cultural fear to shape legal and moral judgment. Satanic panic, 1980s-90s, fueled by sensational media, flawed psychological practices, and deep cultural anxieties. The panic led to widespread belief in underground satanic cults. Hundreds of families were investigated or torn apart over false allegations of ritual abuse, many later proven unfounded. COVID-19 infections. The pandemic triggered a global wave of misinformation, from microchip vaccine fears to miracle cures. In some cases, entire communities rejected mainstream science, revealing how cultural mistrust and political polarization can rapidly generate collective false beliefs. Section 5. Preventing and confronting mass delusions. While mass delusions may be inevitable to some degree, there are ways to build resilience, both personally and culturally. Media literacy. Teaching people to critically evaluate sources and recognize bias is essential. Schools, public institutions, and online platforms have a role to play in boosting digital discernment. Mental health support, supporting mental well-being, especially during times of stress, can reduce individual vulnerability to delusional thinking. Early intervention matters, particularly when fear and isolation are high. Dialogue and community. Open, empathetic conversation across ideological lines can diffuse the isolation that fuels mass delusion. Building trust among diverse groups helps prevent the us versus them mentality that often precedes irrational belief systems, counter-narratives, exposing people to alternative fact-based stories, especially those told by relatable figures, can challenge entrenched beliefs. Storytelling isn't just how delusions spread, it's how truth can thrive too. Conclusion: the beautiful, dangerous power of belief. Belief is at the core of human experience. It helps us make sense of the world, bond with others, and shape our futures. But that same power, unchecked by skepticism or self-awareness, can birth widespread delusion.